Shalom and welcome back to Aliyah and Chill, the only podcast where quitting your job to move to Israel is considered personal growth, not a midlife crisis. I'm Moshe, your soon-to-be ex-employee and full-time folder wrangler, and today's episode is called I Told My Boss I'm Making Aliyah, Now What? Let me set the scene. It's a Tuesday morning. You walk into your boss's office with what you think is a proud smile. You've rehearsed this in the mirror 14 times. You say, "So I'm making Aliyah." And there it is, the look. That mix of confusion, panic, and the unmistakable vibe of, how soon can I replace you? Your boss blinks. They tilt their head like a confused golden retriever. They say something supportive like, "Wow, that's, very Israeli of you." Then comes the awkward silence. And in that silence is the one terrifying question. Now what? What happens after you say it out loud? What happens once you've set the train in motion and your salary on fire? That's what we're unpacking today, because telling your boss is a huge step. But it's only the beginning of the career roller coaster that is moving your entire life to a new country where your degree might mean nothing, your industry might not exist, and your Hebrew vocabulary is mostly food-based. Let's talk options. Option 1, remote work. You tell your boss you're making Aliyah, but you want to keep the job. You suggest working remotely. They say, "Sure, sounds interesting." Let me ask HR. HR comes back 2 days later with a 37-slide PowerPoint titled International Tax Headaches. Here's the deal. Some companies are amazing. They'll let you work remotely from Israel. Others will look at you like you just asked if you could work from the moon. It all depends on the company, your role, the time difference, and whether they think Tel Aviv is a suburb of New Jersey. Option 2, you quit cold turkey. You hand in your notice. You give the 2 weeks. You clean out your desk. You take home the office stapler? Okay, maybe not. Now you're unemployed with no income but lots of optimism, some emergency chocolate, and a dream. This is what we call the Aliyah freefall, when you leave your job, but haven't landed in your new life yet. And it's scary. No steady paycheck, no Israeli job yet, just a vague plan to figure it out once I get there. Which leads to option 3. You panic. You start Googling American jobs in Tel Aviv. You end up on a page offering to sell you a diploma in basket weaving. You cry. Then you call Easy Aliyah. And now we're getting somewhere, because here's what Easy Aliyah knows that most people don't. Aliyah is not just about moving. It's about rebuilding your professional life in a new place, in a new language, with new rules. They'll help you figure out whether your job is even needed in Israel, what the Israeli equivalent of your career path is, if your qualifications transfer, or if you need to take extra courses, what salaries look like. Spoiler, much lower. Sorry. And how to network like an Israeli, which mostly means LinkedIn, Chutzpah, and WhatsApp. They'll also help you prepare a Hebrew or bilingual CV. Did you know that in Israel, it's totally normal to include your marital status and number of kids on your resume? Try doing that in the US, and you'll get a call from HR. Do it in Israel, and you'll get a call offering you a job and asking if your cousin is also available. Let's talk real numbers for a minute. One listener, Rachel, was making $90,000 a year as a marketing director in New York. She made Aliyah, took a similar job in Israel, and now makes 23,000 shekels a month. It sounds okay, until you realize that rent in Tel Aviv is 7,000, daycare is 4,000, and bamba is sold in bulk but disappears in hours. So yes, financially, the move can be a challenge. But it's not impossible, especially if you prepare properly. And if you're lucky enough to work remotely for a foreign company, you might actually win the Aliyah lottery. But you've got to plan for that. You've got to talk to your boss early. You've got to talk to a tax advisor. And you need someone to walk you through things like Israeli income tax, Bituach Leumi, and why nobody ever answers your emails. That's where Easy Aliyah is worth their weight in shekels. They've helped English teachers find better-paying jobs. They've helped IT people transfer their certifications. They've helped lawyers realize that, yes, you may need to study all over again. Or pivot to a job that doesn't require Hebrew contracts and emotional trauma. They also help people reinvent themselves. One client went from a school principal in Brooklyn to running his own custom furniture business in Be'er Sheva. Another turned her Etsy side hustle into a thriving gift shop in Jerusalem. So yes, you told your boss you're making Aliyah. Now what? Now you make a financial plan. Decide if you want to keep working remotely. Rewrite your resume for the Israeli market. Get career coaching if needed. Talk to Easy Aliyah about industry-specific advice. And most importantly, breathe. You don't have to have it all figured out today, but you do need to know what's coming. You'll work again. You'll earn again. You'll find your rhythm. And who knows? One day you might be standing in a WeWork in Herzliya, drinking mediocre espresso and thinking, I made it. That's all for today's episode of Aliyah and Chill. Next week, Death by Document, the Aliyah paperwork horror story. Get ready for apostilles, notarizations, and your printer eating all your dreams. I'm Moshe. Your boss may be confused, but your future? That's looking pretty Israeli. Litraot.